Reporting what has been said by the speaker is known as indirect speech. All the present tenses of direct speech are changed into corresponding past tense. When you change the present continuous tense into past continuous tense, you have to use continuous tense. Only in some cases there will be little changes. When we change that into indirect speech, it should be changed into a word which indicates the distance. Welcome dear students. I am Mrs. Reena, lecturer, Department of English at Vidhyaashram First Grade College, MYSURU. Today in this session, let us discuss the language component, direct speech and indirect speech of B.C.A. 4th semester. So here in today's session, we will be going through the meaning of direct speech, meaning of indirect speech and rules for changing direct speech into indirect speech. So if we want to quote other speech, we can quote that in two ways. That is the direct speech and the indirect speech. Now let us know what is direct speech. Quoting his or her own words is known as direct speech. An example, Joy said, I am very busy now. So, in direct speech, we use inverted commas. We use inverted commas to denote the exact words of the speaker. Next is indirect speech. So, what do you mean by indirect speech? Reporting what has been said by the speaker is known as indirect speech. For example, Joy said that he was very busy then. Okay, so in indirect speech, we will not use the inverted commas. Next. So here are some examples here. Direct speech, Joy said, I am very busy now. And indirect speech, Joy said that he was very busy then. So when we change the direct speech into indirect speech, there will be some changes. We have to go through some changes in the sentences. Or here, taking this example, let's look into the changes which we made to the direct speech when we change it into the indirect speech. Okay, first one. We have used the conjunction that before the indirect speech. For example, here you can see here. So in direct speech, we have not used this word, conjunction we have not used. So here in the direct speech, it is only Joy said, I am very busy now, right? So here, when we change that into indirect speech, we have used the conjunction that here, okay? Next, the pronoun I is changed to he. You can notice here. So the pronoun I, Joy said I. So it has changed into he here. So next one. Next is the verb am is changed to was. Okay, in the direct speech we have I am. Okay, so that in the indirect speech am is changed into was. Okay, next one. The adverb now is changed to then. Okay, so here the adverb now, can see here, is changed into then. So whenever we change the direct speech, we have to use some other conjunction. Then we have to make some changes in the verb, then conjunction, adverb, etc. Next. So there are certain rules. Simply we cannot change the direct speech into indirect speech. So while changing the direct speech into indirect speech, we have to follow certain rules. Now let's look into that rules which we have to follow while changing the direct speech into indirect speech. So first one, all the present tenses of direct speech are changed into corresponding past tense. Okay, got it? All the present tenses of direct speech are changed into the corresponding past tenses. Okay, now first one. A simple present tense becomes simple past tense. A simple present tense becomes a simple past tense. Okay, now here he said, I am unwell. This is the direct speech. Okay, it's in simple present tense. Okay, so let's change that into indirect speech. He said that he was unwell. So he was. It's a past tense. It's a simple past tense. Next, a present continuous tense. A present continuous tense becomes a past continuous tense. Okay, continuous tense means using the ing form, right? So a present continuous tense becomes a past continuous tense. So here is the example. She said, my teacher is writing letters. She said, my teacher is writing letters. That is in direct speech. So always remember that the direct speech will be in inverted commas. So when we change that into indirect speech, it's like this. She said that her teacher was writing letters. So she said that her teacher was writing letters. So now you understood this one. First one is a simple present tense becomes a simple past tense, and a present continuous tense will become past continuous tense. Next one, third one is a present perfect tense becomes a past perfect tense. A present perfect tense becomes a past perfect tense. So here, example, he said, I have passed the examination. So have passed. I have passed the examination. That is in direct speech. So when we change that into indirect speech, it is like this. He said that he had passed. Okay, this is past tense, had. He had passed the examination. Next. So you have to note this. The shall of the future tense is changed into should or would. Okay, the shall of the future tense. Shall is a future tense. So when it is changed into should or would. Next, the will of the future tense is changed into would. Next, the past tense remains unchanged. Got it? The past tense remains unchanged. For example, so direct, here is the example for direct speech. He said, I lived many years in America. Okay? So the indirect, when we change into indirect speech, he said that he lived many years in America. He said that he lived many years in America. So you can make out this. This is past tense. So here it remains unchanged. Lived. So sometimes the simple past tense in the direct speech become the past perfect in the indirect speech. So this is only sometimes. Sometimes the simple past in the direct speech will become the past perfect in the indirect speech. So here is the example. He said the dog died in the night. So when we change it into indirect speech, he said that the dog had died in the night. Next one. Pronouns and possessive adjectives. Pronouns and possessive adjectives of the first and second persons are changed to third person. Got it? Pronouns and possessive adjectives of the first and second person are changed into third person. Example, he said, I am ill. Okay, he said, I am ill. So when we change into indirect speech, he said that he was ill. So he said, so he is speaking about himself. So when we change that, he said he was ill. He said that he was ill. So next one. The gentleman said to the beggar, I know you. So when we change into indirect speech, it is the gentleman told the beggar that he knew the latter. Okay. Next. If the person addressed reports the speech, second person are changed to first person. Okay. So if the person addressed reports the speech, second persons are changed to first. Example, he said to me, you are getting indolent. So when we change it into indirect speech, he told me that I was getting indolent. Next. So words expressing nearness are generally changed into word expressing distance. Okay, so when we change the direct speech into indirect speech, the words which expresses the nearness in direct speech are changed into the words expressing distance in indirect speech. For example, now. If there is now in direct speech, when you change that into indirect speech, you should not use the word now there. Instead of that, you have to use then. So this becomes that, here becomes there, ago becomes before, thus becomes so, today becomes that day, tomorrow becomes next day, and yesterday the day before. Okay, again it is repeated here. Today that day, tomorrow next day, and yesterday the day before. Okay, next, for example, he said, I am glad to be here this evening. He said, I am glad to be here this evening. So this told you that this becomes that. So when we change into indirect speech, he said that he was glad to be there that evening. He said that he was glad to be there that evening. So this has been changed into that. So here is the exercise now. So let's look into the examples here. Many examples are here. Now just look into this. Joy said to John, go away. So this is in which speech? It is in direct speech. And when we change into indirect speech, that will be Joy ordered John to go away. So this is indirect speech. Okay. Next one. Sheija said, how clever I am. So, Sheija exclaimed that she was very clever. You can use these type of words also for instead of, so this is go away. It's an order, right? So, you can use ordered. Instead of writing something else, you can use that word ordered here. So, here, Sheija is, it's an exclamatory thing, right? So, you can use, instead of Sheija said that, you can add another word, that is Sheija exclaimed that she was very clever. So this is a direct speech and this is indirect speech. So always you should remember that direct speech should be in inverted commas. Next one. Oh, help me heaven, he cried. I will never steal again. So this is direct speech. So when we change into indirect speech, it's like this. He called upon heaven to witness his resolve never to steal again. So this is indirect speech. So always remember that when you change the direct speech into indirect speech, you have to remove the inverted commas. Next, he shouted, let him go. So, the direct speech, and in the indirect speech, it's like this. He shouted to them to let him go. Next, he said, bravo, you have done well. So, this is direct speech. He applauded him, saying that he had done well. So, this is indirect speech. Okay. So, here you can use the words like ordered, exclaimed, okay, then applauded. All these words you can use when you change into indirect speech. Next one. I have been reading for 1 hour, he said. So, he said that he had been reading for 1 hour. So, this is in continuous tense, right? When you change the present continuous tense into past continuous tense, you have to use continuous tense. Only in some cases, there will be little changes. So, he said that he had been reading for 1 hour. So, what type of sentence is this? This is direct speech and this one is indirect speech. Next, I went for a walk, he said. What type of sentence? It is a direct speech. So, he said that he had gone for a walk. This is in indirect speech. Next, the lecturer said, the earth goes round the sun. So, it's in direct speech. So, when we change that into indirect speech, it's like this. The lecturer said that the earth goes round the sun. Okay, this is indirect speech. So, next, 9th one. She said, ice melts when it is heated. So, this is indirect speech. And when we change it to indirect speech, it is, she said that ice melts when it is heated. Next one. I am sick now, he said. Okay, so this is indirect speech. So, here you have to note that I have already informed you that when there is now, so this is nearness. When we change that into indirect speech, it should be changed into a word which indicates the distance. Okay. So, he said that he was sick then. Okay. So, here you have to note down this. Hope you all understood this. Now you are able to know the rules to change the direct speech into indirect speech. So, practice this exercise. So, you have this exercise after your chapter. So, you have to do at home, read the textbook and try to do this. And in the next session, let us discuss the reading comprehension. So, thank you. Stay safe and healthy.